right. I believe we should be live here on another edition, live Dodgers Dogs, part of the Dodgers Daily Network. I couldn't be more excited to be here tonight with you guys. My name, if you don't know, is Austin Brubaker. You can follow me on X at AustinBRU99. I'm here being with you guys, excited to talk about the Los Angeles Dodgers and what is some of the most exciting time of the year. It is trade deadline season, and it's not just trade deadline season. It is 24 hours to go until the trade deadline for your Los Angeles Dodgers. We'll be talking all about that, what Dodgers should be doing. This is live, meaning that I don't necessarily know exactly all that's happening in the world, so I'm going to be hopefully relying on you guys. If something happens live, if something breaks while we're going, I need your guys' help. I'll try not to get too far behind in the chat. We'll also be talking about the trade that the Dodgers made today, which wasn't just a minor trade. They made a pretty big trade, particularly to help with some of the margins, to help with this team. Is it the final thing that the Dodgers are going to do this trade deadline season? We have less than 24 hours to figure out. I'm sure a lot of you guys are hoping that the Dodgers, this isn't the final move for the Dodgers, but we're just going to have to wait and see. We'll be talking about that, talking about the guys that the Dodgers brought in. Where do I stand on these guys? Talk a little bit about this team in general. But this show is your guys' show. I want this to be for you guys. You can see that I'm here in my home studio in the great state of Michigan. It is about 5 o'clock, just after work on the West Coast. If you're driving home from work, tune in, listen on in, gather everybody. Make sure to like and subscribe here to Dodgers Daily. Couldn't be more excited to have you guys join and be part of this adventure that we have. So, again, this is live. I don't have all of the updates, so if something pops up with the Dodgers that they're going live or any news is sort of break, let me know down in the comment section. I'd be happy to get into it. But just to go through a little bit of a recap, which I know a lot of other Dodgers channels, which go check those out. As I can see, All Dodgers Podcast with Clint Pasillas is in the chat right now. Welcome on in. There's been a lot of breakdown as what the Dodgers have done with the trade they made earlier. The Dodgers earlier today acquired relief pitcher Michael Kopech from the Chicago White Sox, as well as Tommy Edman from the St. Louis Cardinals. Two players are coming to this Dodgers team. Tommy Edman is a guy who has been out this entire season, yet I think he can provide a lot of value. And same with Michael Kopech. I think if you look at both of these guys, they fit right into the mold and model that the Los Angeles Dodgers love. Let's take Michael Kopech first. What is the strength of Michael Kopech? And we can go out to his baseball savant page, the strength of Michael Kopech. If you look at his baseball savant, he's got 99th percentile in fastball velo. Dodgers love the guys with the big time stuff, the stuff that can strike out a lot of hitters. They'll even take that with some of the walks that are going to be coming up. That is something that, if you look up and down this organization, kind of a little bit of a consistent pattern. They're going to take the risk and bet on the upside, and that is exactly what they're doing with a guy like a Michael Kopech. They're betting on the upside and what there is with a lot of potential in him, and they should be able to utilize him in a lot of unique situations. The Dodgers have a lot of really good guys out of this bullpen that can provide a lot of different areas. You have Blake Trinan, who's got some of the wicked stuff. You have Daniel Hudson, who has been a veteran leader, who has been rock solid for this bullpen. You also have guys that are going to be coming back, like a Brusdar Graterol is on his way back. You have other guys that can fill in. Michael Kopech is that flamethrower, that fastball, that guy that can really step up that you hope for in that big postseason environment. And it's somebody that I believe is going to make a big impact if the Dodgers are able to get him on the right track, which this fits in exactly with their player development model. You look up and down with the organization at their minor league level. What do they have a lot of? They have a lot of guys that can strike people out. They are one of the top organizations with gathering pitchers that can strike guys out, but they also are one of the organizations that allows a lot of walks. That's because they're betting on the upside and they're trying to figure out different ways to make them even better. And with Michael Kopech, while he's in the 92nd percentile in strikeout percentage, he's just in the 7th percentile in walk percentage. I think this fits with exactly the Dodgers mold of the type of pitchers that they go ahead and try to acquire. And with that, there presents itself a lot of upside. They'll have Kopech for this season and next season, so a chance for the Dodgers to really help get him right. And there's a lot of upside in play. Similarly with Tommy Edman. Now, this trade was a 3-team trade, so it was a little bit more complicated trade than perhaps some of the trades that we had envisioned. But with Tommy Edman, he's been out for the entire season. Actually, don't necessarily know when he would be coming back. Perhaps later this season. I actually didn't even look at that. Just to tell you guys straight, I was out golfing with my grandfather beforehand, so I didn't get a ton of time to do a lot of show prep after work. But Tommy Edman has been a really valuable player when he has been in the league. He is a versatile player. Again, something that the Dodgers really like. And what is something that we talk often about with this Dodgers team? We talk a lot about this offense. It's got a lot of boom. It's got a lot of bust. It's got a lot of inconsistency at times. A lot of guys that can hit for power, especially during that 4, 5, and 6 back when Max Muncy was healthy. And then you throw in Teoscar Hernandez, where there's a lot of power. Maybe that comes with a lot of strikeouts as well. And that provides a little bit of inconsistency at times. I think Tommy Edman, because he does not strike out as much, he's more in the 15% strikeout percentage. I think he has the potential to be somebody who can really help transition the lineup over at the bottom of the lineup over to the Shohei Ohtani, over to the Mookie Betts, over to the Freddie Freeman. And that's not even counting some of the impact that he has had with his glove. His glove is phenomenal. He just to straight out say it, he's been one of the best defenders and most versatile defenders in the game of baseball. I think Dodgers fans have been rightfully frustrated with the defense. He can play the outfield. He's played some shortstop before. There's more insurance for shortstop. He can play second base. He's played third base in his career. He's played all over the place. I think that is something that the Dodgers absolutely love. And let's not forget, and this has been pointed out, and I think it's worth pointing out just over and over and over again, because the Dodgers have the upside to get one of the most valuable players in the game of baseball. In 2022, according to Fangraphs, he was worth 5.4 WAR. Now, he's not going to be the big upside WRC plus guy. He might be slightly below league average, but with the versatility that he provides, with the defensive ability that he's able to have, this is a really valuable guy, really valuable addition that this Dodgers team can add in to where in the future they might not be relying on, let's say, a Kike Hernandez doesn't come back next season. You could have a Tommy Edman fill in his shoes. If Tommy Edman is able to come back later in this season, you have additional insurance for the shortstop position and for the third base position. So that's going to be really interesting to see what the Dodgers are able to do with him. So, I thought it was a really good move. I like the going out and getting a Tommy Edman. I think he provides a lot of versatility. You can play him in center field. You can play him at shortstop. You can play him at second base. Wherever you need him to play, I think he's going to go out there and not just play solid defense. I think he's going to go out there and play really good defense because his track record said so. Now, you don't get these players without giving up some players. And the most notable player that the Dodgers gave up during this trade, and then we'll get to the comments section, see if there's any sort of news that is broken, which, again, just letting you guys know, I'm currently live. I don't get a chance to scroll through Twitter, scroll through X to see what exactly is breaking, what exactly is going down. So if you guys could help me out with that, I have some notifications set for that, and then we'll dive into whatever sort of news breaks. But the Dodgers gave up a really talented player in Miguel Vargas. We've seen the journey, we've seen the growth in Miguel Vargas as he has come up through the system. I still remember back in 2019 and then again in 2021, Miguel Vargas coming up through the Great Lakes Loons organization, a team that I follow along really closely. And to see that power, that right center field gap-to-gap power that he has, his hitting ability, I believe he still has the longest hit streak in Great Lakes Loons history of at least 25 straight games, or at least he broke that. I don't know what the actual record is. He's been somebody that's been part of this organization for quite a long quite a long time. Had the ability to start the 2023 season as the opening day second baseman for the Dodgers. Things just didn't work out last season. You could blame that to injuries. You can blame that with a lot of different factors. Came back into the 2024 season and at least at the minor league level was killing it. 148-ish WRC plus, walking more than he was striking out. He was doing everything that he could at the AAA level and proving that he deserves additional opportunities at the major league level. Those opportunities, however, with the Dodgers were a little bit few and far in between. In part because of his defensive limitations, they decided to put him at left field, which I believe was the only spot that they could have envisioned him potentially having a role in the future. They didn't really want to move him back to third base and could provide additional areas that he has to work on. So he was kind of blocked that way. And even if they moved him back to third base, as soon as Max Muncy comes back, you're going to decide to play Max Muncy unless Miguel Vargas decides to just go off. Right there. So there really wasn't a role for Miguel Vargas on this team. And you know, Casey and I, we talk a lot about these prospects. We speak highly at them. You could say that we're potentially biased with some of these guys as we get to watch these guys play. We get to see the grind that they have throughout their minor league journeys. I think this is a good day. And I get it. Miguel Vargas, I think a lot of Dodgers fans were really high on the Miguel Vargas bandwagon, behind him, want to see him succeed as a Los Angeles Dodger. For Miguel Vargas's sake, I am happy. Because with the Dodgers, I don't know what sort of role that he's going to have. I did not like, and I voiced my frustration back a month and a half or so ago when the Dodgers were playing him maybe once a week. Most of the time he was sitting on the bench, making some funny faces, having some fun in the clubhouse. I'm glad that he's going to get an opportunity to go out there and actually be able to prove himself at the big league level. When we're talking about these prospects, when we're talking about these players, that's all that they can ask for, and that's all that I want out of them. I believe the two players that the Dodgers got back are two players that fit into the mold with what the Dodgers can work with. A versatile defender, and a good one at that, who has a really solid floor of a player, which we've seen some of the downside with some of the floor that some of the other players have had on this team. I don't think it's going to reach that level, assuming that Tommy Edman comes back and he's healthy when he returns. Same with Michael Kopech. Fits into the type of player that the Dodgers target and really help develop. High velo, insane amount of stuff. Yet there's a little bit of wildness and inconsistency at play. The Dodgers have helped players develop out of that or try to help work with those players. I believe they can do the same with that. I like the two players that the Dodgers got. I think they're two really solid players. Then they also provided an opportunity similar to, and this is going to get a lot of comparison because it's true, similar to Michael Busch, which Michael Busch has gone on to Chicago. He's done really well for Chicago. I haven't checked his numbers in about a week or two, but last time I checked, he was putting up WRC plus in the 120s, 130-ish, which is a really solid player because he's getting the opportunity to play just about every single day. I think that's all you can ask for with some of these guys. That's what I want. I want to see these guys, these prospects, first go off and have successful big league careers for the Dodgers, if at all possible. And if not, I'd be more than happy to see them go out and kill it for another organization. So for Miguel Vargas, as somebody who has been part of this organization, a player that I've known about for going back to 2019, 2018, if he was part of the team towards the end of 2018 with the Great Lakes Loons. First off, thanks for everything that you've done for the city, for being an important player for this organization, and we wish nothing but the best to him, as well as a couple of young prospects that are at the Single A Rancho Cucamonga Quakes level. Alexander Albertus and Gerald Perez are on their way to Chicago as well. They're still a couple of years back. There's still a lot of uncertainties. There's still a lot of projectables. Both of those guys have a lot of tools. I remember Perez was part of the Futures game. He, especially early in the season, was really performing well, and I was starting to get really excited about seeing him at High A Great Lakes. Turns out he is headed to Chicago, just a couple hours away. He's going to be playing for the Chicago affiliates, as well as Alexander Albertus. I know a lot of people were excited about them. Noah Miller, who was previously rumored to be a part of this trade, was not a part of this trade. So he will continue and make that journey out. Actually, make a little bit of a return starting tomorrow, assuming that he remains within the organization through any sort of future trades with the Cedar Rapids. He'll be returning to Cedar Rapids, as it looks like there's brand new news that is just breaking right now, according to Ken Rosenthal, and I just got this notification on my phone. No idea what's happening with this. Dodgers are acquiring Amed Rosario from the Tampa Bay Rays. What are your thoughts on that? I was not prepared for this, as the news had just broken right now. Looks like the Dodgers are making some sort of trade. Currently, there's no indication as far as what sort of return that there is, or if you guys are all behind this trade. I'd have to do a little bit digging into some of the numbers for Amed Rosario. But let's go ahead and wrap up the talk about as that kind of trade figures things out. Just overall thoughts about the trade, once again, that they made earlier today. Then we'll dig into Amed Rosario and talk about him coming back to the Dodgers. Just overall thoughts, I think it was really solid with what the Dodgers were able to do. I'm fine with giving up a Miguel Vargas. I think that was an inevitability. I think if he remained on this Dodgers team, they would probably play him maybe every couple of days, but I don't think that he would have been able to reach his full potential every couple of days. I think they did right by him. I think they're betting on some of the upside with a Tommy Edman, with a Michael Kopech, and I'm excited to see what they're able to do going forward. As we go ahead and turn the page over with Ken Rosenthal, and this is just him reporting this right now. I haven't seen this from some of the other analysts, but I only have a couple that I get notifications for. Dodgers are acquiring Amed Rosario from the Tampa Bay Rays. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of digging. I'm going to do this right with you guys. Let's look at some of his numbers right now, see how he's doing this season. And we can really dig into this a little bit together. As it looks like Casey is chiming in. It looks like Michael Flynn, right-hand reliever, will be part of the return for that. So I'm assuming that Casey is correct like this. Look at this. Breaking news live here, Dodgers Dawgs, part of the Dodgers Daily Network. If you could, please subscribe here. I'm at my home studio right now. I'm trying to get this computer to load so we can go ahead and dig into some of the numbers for Amed Rosario. Just initial thoughts right now. I think this is an indication likely that the Dodgers are probably pretty concerned with the health of some of their players, particularly with a Max Muncy. They're looking to try to just help elevate the floor of some of the production that they've had, what they have seen. I'm not surprised that they went out and got in Amed Rosario. This is not the first time that this has happened. So it would be interesting to see what the Dodgers are going to be able to do with him. Just looking at his numbers this season, it's not going to be... With him, he does have a 115 WRC plus. It is a 307 batting average, a 331 on base percentage with a 417 slugging. Tampa has been really able to utilize him fairly well. There's some background characteristics that indicate that there could be some possible regression, some negative regression that could have for Amed Rosario. Not particularly a huge fan of his 2.5 walk percentage. I think that is something and the type of player that he is. He's not a high walk percentage guy. Doesn't strike out at too terribly much. But also has been having perhaps some good luck with his 367 batting average on balls in play. So I think this isn't a game changer. This is just somebody to where he can go out there, he can go ahead and succeed and provide some additional insurance for this team, where I think the price for a lot of players is really steep right now. So just looking at some of the defensive ability, because he's another one of those guys that can play quite a bit all over the place this season. He has played 21 games at second base. He's also played 14 games at third base, 12 games at shortstop, as well as 20 games in right field. Amed Rosario is reportedly a Los Angeles Dodgers. So I don't know what exactly the return is. Casey had mentioned that it is as part of the trade. Michael Flynn, right-handed reliever, will be part of the return. But if you guys figure out and try to decipher who's going to be part of the return, that'd be really helpful for me as I am trying to catch up on some of the news with the Los Angeles Dodgers. They just made a trade. Amed Rosario is once again a Los Angeles Dodgers. What are some of your thoughts with this? What are your thoughts on this Dodgers team? Are you disappointed that they haven't gone out and made a big impact trade? Do you want the Dodgers to go out and get a guy like a Jack Flaherty right now? Who do you want to see the Dodgers go out and get? We'll have to wait and see what happens. So let's go ahead for the comment section. I know you guys have been just about crazy with this. I don't think there's going to be any way that I catch up through the comments right now. I'm going to just roll through it and just thank some people for being here. Orlando, Craig Osterberg's always join us. Thank you for joining us as well. Showtime LA, Edman, I like. Can play Gold Glove defense all over, and anything you get at the bat is a plus. And Kopech will be a good classic reclamation project. I think that is exactly true right now. As you can see with Fabiano Ardaya, Dodgers are trading Michael Flynn for Rosario, source confirms, backing up what Casey had said earlier. So just going through some of the comments right now. Let's see what happens. Orlando gonna need Kopech to increase his slider cutter usage and sprinkle in a curve and changeup just to add a wrinkle. Yeah, Michael Kopech is very heavy on the fastball. It's 99th percentile in velo, but he uses it almost 80% of the time. It'd be interesting to see how the Dodgers are able to best utilize his pitch mix. I believe in this Dodgers pitching process. I think we've seen with River Ryan, with Justin Robleski, two guys come up and have a lot of success early in their big league careers, which I couldn't be more excited for both of them. How excited are you guys for Robo and River Ryan coming up for this Dodgers team? I think they're showing that they can develop pitching, and I believe we've seen it in the past, them be able to convert these reclamation projects. I think the price tag for a lot of relief pitchers is really steep right now. So if you can get and turn Michael Kopech, a guy who fits in the mold with what the Dodgers can help develop, into a really solid late inning relief pitcher, just to add to the depth, add to the mix that you have, I think that could be really positive right now. MH, thank you very much for joining us. I said they should trade for Edman this past offseason. Called it. Good for you. Thanks for calling it, MH. Sammy Boy Smith, thanks for joining us. I remember right before Edman got hurt, LA fans wanted Edman. Cards fans were like, no way, won't happen. I think that the Cardinals have a lot of guys that can fit into that type of mold. I think they're going to miss a Tommy Edman. He's been incredibly valuable for them. He puts up consistently 2-3 WAR, and then put up that 5 WAR season a couple of years ago. I think if he reaches and if he gets healthy, that's a big if, as there's a lot of guys who aren't healthy on this Dodgers team, so that might concern you a little bit. That could be a real positive for this Dodgers team. Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. Hello. Happy Monday to you as well. Let's go out and get Flaherty, says Life Journey. Mike Jones, get Roberts. That's another guy that's been rumored with some of the trades that they have made. Perhaps that is unlikely, but it is not impossible right now. So we'll have to see what happens with that. All Dodgers with Clint Pasillas, thank you so much for joining us. Personally, I'm looking at Edman as the center fielder. It's becoming clear that Pages needs some more seasoning before slotting in as a playoff center fielder. Just your 2 cents. I think that's fair. I'm a big fan of Andy Pages, and I think this has been a big season for him. He came back from the surgery, came back from the injury, and he's performed fairly well. He got out to the hot start. He then rebounded after a little bit of a cold streak. It's been a little bit more of an extended cold streak. We've seen some frustrating defensive plays in center field. I was at a couple of those when the Dodgers were in town in Detroit. I see and understand the frustrations with center field. I get and agree with the calls to put him in the corner outfielder, because I think if you talk to people within this organization, people that have worked with Andy Pages incredibly closely, they will tell you that he is a right fielder. He is a corner outfielder. But I also commend Andy Pages for going out there and playing center field with the Dodgers, which is exactly what they need. With Tommy Edman, you would not have to worry about the defensive ability that he has in center field. If that is where he is best positioned, and then you have an Andy Pages in a corner outfield, if you have a Teoscar Hernandez in the other corner outfield spot, and let's just say that you get a Max Muncy healthy back, then you could have Muncy. Let's say that you have Mookie Betts still at shortstop, or you put him at second base, depending on how Lux is doing, which got to give credit to Gavin Lux. He is going out there and performing right now, so we can take the second base position right now. You could position and feel really solid about what you're able to do. Putting Tommy Edman out in center field, I think, can really help solidify up that outfield defensively really well if he's able to come back healthy this season. Big if, but definitely feel a lot better if that is the case. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. As I'm just going to kind of roll through and continue to go through. Roy Estrada, Pages is now a fourth outfielder. Interesting to see what the Dodgers are going to do with Andy Pages going forward. I think that Jason Hayward would be that fourth outfielder, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what the Dodgers have envisioned or have in mind following this. Andy Pages does have to deliver more than what he is doing right now. Let's go right now. Life Journey, Vargas was blocked. It's good to see him go elsewhere and play and get a chance. Absolutely agree with that. Mike Boyer, thanks so much for joining us. Can't wait till August 2nd, and all the focus will be on making the playoffs and winning the World Series. That is coming up really soon. Jay, thank you very much for joining us, talking about the defensive versatility that Tommy Edman has. A lot of time at shortstop, second base, in the outfield as well. Good afternoon, Pika Peep. Thanks so much for joining us as well. MH, Dodgers are great at giving players opportunities. McKinstry, Mitch White, Michael Bush, Colton Wong. Sure, there's more. I would say that there's perhaps additional opportunities especially for some of the guys at the very upper end, like a Ryan Ward. I'd love to see get an opportunity right now, or Casey has been talking about Drew Ravens for years now, getting him opportunities. There's still more guys. Dodgers still have an ability to hoard some of their prospects. I love to see those guys get opportunities as well, but with Miguel Vargas and with Michael Bush in particular, got to give the Dodgers credit for making sure that they get opportunities and doing it right for them. Pika Kopech has this stuff with Ryan Kelly, showing him that changeup grip, LOL. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Jay Edman has a slight platoon split, career WRC plus of 117 versus lefties, right-handed pitchers 93. That's also something that's really important to keep in mind. Look out for those platoon splits for each one of these guys as well. And also, Life Journey, thank you very much for reminding me. The Dodgers also traded Ricky Manasco to the Tigers for cash considerations. Ricky Vanasco we've talked a lot about his journey here on Dodgers Daily. Casey has talked to him quite a bit, spent a lot of time, talked about the journey that he's been on. It's been rough at times as far as the ups and downs of minor league baseball, not knowing exactly what you're going to do, not sure where your opportunity is going to come. Ricky Vanasco has nasty stuff, and wish him nothing but the best with Detroit. There seems to be actually a decent amount of connections between the Dodgers and the Tigers as far as people that have previously worked within the Dodgers organization. I'm sure they let them know, hey, this guy still has really good stuff. It's still a work in progress for him, but I still believe in the stuff that Ricky Manasco has. Dodgers, as far as their roster opportunities, don't have a lot of roster opportunities. So with Ricky Vanasco, who wasn't going to fit into this team this season, gets an opportunity to be on the Tigers roster and get an opportunity to prove himself. Similar to Tigers taking flyers on other guys. Lyle Lockhart Jr. is killing it over there. Eddie Leonard is working his way up on a rehab, but it should be one step away from Major League Baseball over there. There's been several guys that have come over from the Dodgers to the Tigers organization. Wish him nothing but the best over there as we continue going through that. Let's see. Nando 390, thank you very much for joining us. Awesome, they traded for an injured Edman and a reliever with a 5 ERA. Tell me this is a joke. It is not a joke. That is exactly what the Dodgers did. It was, I guess you could say, typical Dodgers type of move that they're going for. Yes, Tommy Edman is injured right now, and the Dodgers have plenty of players. They don't need another player that is injured. The Dodgers are betting on upside, though. So if you want to go out there and get a guy that has been there but has been mediocre at best, perhaps that's the strategy that the Dodgers should have gone down, but I think they're going, which they kind of did with the Amed Rosario, so there's a little bit of that. But they also wanted to go for some of the upside and with some of the things that they also like in player profiles, which they like the versatility, they like the upside, especially from what they saw with the Tommy Edman back in 2022 being worth 5.5 WAR. I think the Dodgers or any organization would take that every single day of the week, as well as with a Michael Kopech. They're looking for very specific roles. Tommy Edman can provide that defensive prowess, that defensive upside, and Kopech can provide potentially late inning life that the Dodgers can help work with in a better organization right now. So excited to see what they're able to do. My boy Lux haters are ungrateful for his 7-week hitting streak, helping the Dodgers stay in the playoff hunt. Gavin Lux has been doing really well as of recent. Been great to see that for him. Excited to see him go and continue to go forward for the season. Delirium, is Edman just rental or do we have him for next year? The Dodgers will have him for next season. He will be making, I believe, about $9.5 million next season. Totally reasonable with the upside that he's going to be able to provide or potentially could provide. Mr. Summer, I saw Edman was at the top of the league in defensive WAR, and the guy steals bases too. Love that. If you're looking for a little bit of a different player or a guy that can do something a little bit different from what the Dodgers have had in the past, I think that is really solid, and I think he can provide a little bit of different stuff going forward for this Dodgers team. So that should be really exciting to see as I'm continuing to catch up on this chat, and then we'll dive in a little bit more into some of the things going on in all the world Dodgers baseball. Just trying to catch up with the chat right now. Ray Estrada just mentioned Kikuchi was traded to the Astros from the Toronto Blue Jays. This was somebody that was mentioned earlier on X. There was some mention as far as you say Kikuchi potentially coming to the Dodgers, but it seemed like the asking price, at least according to some of the tweets out there, were like a Justin Robleski, which I don't think the Dodgers were ever gonna do. You have a guy who is young, who doesn't have a ton of playoff experience, although I can tell a little bit of a story later about Justin Robleski and just how good he was during the playoffs, though it was minor league playoffs, but just that dog mentality that he has. I think they like the upside and the team control, the club options that a Justin Robleski has over a rental of a Yusei Kikuchi. Astros went out and acquired him. I don't really know what the return is for him, nor am I privy to the Astros organization and all of their prospects, so I'm assuming that the Blue Jays did their homework and they got at least a decent player. Remember, for these trade deadlines, don't live, breathe, and die by prospect rankings. This is something we talk a lot about for Dodgers Daily, for these. There's a lot of work, there's a lot of scouting, there's a lot of research that goes into those prospect rankings, and any type of coverage that goes into these prospects very well appreciate, and we try to provide coverage for a lot of these prospects as well, so we're grateful for a lot of that. A lot of these lists, however, could be outdated. A lot of them could be from the start of the season, and they're waiting for after the trade deadline, after the end of the season, to update those lists. And there's a lot of stuff that has happened during the 2024 campaign to change people's minds as far as prospect rankings. Nobody had Alex Freeland on their top 30 list, or very few people, I should say. I want to just go out and say nobody. Now he's considered a top 5 Dodgers prospect because of what he's been able to do this season. That just goes to show you that just because a guy might not be ranked or might be ranked lower, don't live, breathe, and die because of that. There's a lot of stuff that has happened, and also scouts don't use that off of their basis. They're going to do a lot of research, and they going to identify things that they like in players. So wait to make those judgments on there. Mike Boyer asking about, and what we've talked quite a bit about, is Amed Rosario is now a Los Angeles Dodger. Once again, the Dodgers go out and get Amed Rosario at the trade deadline, trading Michael Flynn as part of that trade, as Casey had reported, and is backed up by Fabian Ardaya, respected and Dodgers beat reporter as well. There's also a rumor that Hunter Fiducia is gone. I haven't seen those rumors, so if those end up being true, we'll go back into that. But I'm assuming that he is part of the organization still until I hear back otherwise right now. And yes, Yusei Kikuchi is a Houston Astro. We won't get into some of the history of the Dodgers and the Astros, as I don't think we need to relive that right now. As I try to go back to some of the comment section right here. We're going to continue to go through this comment section right now. Seems to be additional things with Hunter Fiducia, so if you guys have any sort of news as far as that is concerned, please go ahead and let me know, and we'll go ahead and dive into that and talk a little bit about that right now. Let's see. Orlando says Yarbrough was DFA'd to make room for Amed. I don't know of anything as far as each one of these is concerned. I should probably check out Twitter to see if anything actually is confirmed with all of this, which it looks like with Bruce Coons. It says that Ryan Yarbrough has been DFA'd to clear up a roster spot, which Bruce, very highly invested within this organization, does a great job covering these prospects. Just says, I think Brent Honeywell supplanted Ryan Yarbrough's spot on the roster as a multi-inning if needed guy. Yarbrough had a 4.93 ERA since the beginning of June and suddenly was struggling with walks, especially with a guy like Ryan Yarbrough, who has been part of this organization dating back to last trade deadline season. I don't think the Dodgers envisioned him being part of this postseason run, this postseason team. He's more of that long inning relief type of guy, which is why I don't think the Dodgers had him as part of the postseason roster last season. Wish Ryan Yarbrough nothing but the best. He did everything that he could for this organization and provided and ate a lot of innings. Now it's time to get serious. Now it's time to get into the move to try to go out and find the guys that are going to fit best for this postseason roster. And I don't believe that they envisioned Ryan Yarbrough being part of that equation. Another breaking news as we are here live, Dodgers Dogs, part of the Dodgers Daily Network. I'm working to get caught up back in the chat, but if you want to help me get there, if you could leave a like, press that subscribe button, really would appreciate it. Here at Dodgers Dogs, we love covering Dodgers baseball. We also love doing it at the minor league level as well. Spend a lot of time covering these prospects, interviewing them. There's a lot of interviews that are here that Casey does a lot of time, hard work, talking to these guys. I get a chance to interact with them, and we'll get into a little bit of that story later in the show as we look to break moves right now. Cobra Commander, Dodgers aren't going to make any big moves. Look like they're going to make a bunch of these C trades. As we get closer and closer to the deadline, it's becoming more and more likely that these types of smaller moves, whether you like it or not, are likely going to be the moves that the Dodgers are going to make. Doesn't mean that the Garrett Crochet or the Tarek Skubal thing is out of the equation. Definitely won't happen, but it seemed more and more likely that this is probably the way that the Dodgers are going to go with the insane price that teams are asking for a lot of these players. I know a lot of you are, hey, let's meet the price because we need to do that to win a World Series. I don't necessarily disagree with you at all, but this is something where, especially with Jack Flaherty, there is a really big bidding war for his services. With Garrett Crochet, there's been a lot of questions as far as his willingness to go ahead and pitch in late into the season, into the postseason, or even his ability to even get there given the amount of innings. We are not just past the innings total of his career. there's a Grand Canyon, and then there is Garrett Crochet's innings total this season between what he's done in the past. So there's questions about that. There's questions as far as whether the Tigers would trade Tarik Skubal, and if they do trade Tarik Skubal, if they look to the Baltimore organization, which has more of those hit position player prospects that are really close to major league ready that they could go out and get. So we'll have to wait and see what is happening right now. Mr. Summer, defense up the middle is better. Team speed is better. That is definitely something that you could take away from a lot of the moves that the Dodgers have made, particularly with going out and getting a Tommy Edman, going out and getting a Amed Rosario, which Rosario, not a great defensive player. We'll go out and say that. Tommy Edman, definitely better defensively, but with Amed Rosario, has performed really well offensively this season with a 115 WRC+. Again, warning signs are flashing. The expected WOBA is significantly lower than his actual WOBA, so there could be and likely will be some regression that takes place at some point, some negative regression. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. I don't think it costs the team too much, although Michael Flynn, talented reliever within this organization, likely wasn't going to get an opportunity coming up pretty soon. Nando 390, Edman is injured. It's about winning now, not next season. I don't know exactly when Tommy Edman is going to win or when he's going to be able to come back. Absolutely, it's about winning now, and the Dodgers are trying to figure out ways to win now. But if you can get a talented player like that, I think you go ahead and do it. And with this Dodgers team, they didn't really give up guys that they envisioned being important contributors and roles for this team going forward. And that includes, unfortunately, a Miguel Vargas, who I don't believe the Dodgers had really any idea of how they were going to utilize the talent that he had going forward. So interesting to see what the Dodgers are going to be able to do with that. Not saying that these are game-changing moves or that these are the moves that Dodgers fans should be content for, but these are the moves that are happening right now that they are doing, and I think Tommy Edman has the upside potentially be somebody that would be valuable for this team. Jay Rosario is having a good year, but I don't get this move. Rosario is not a good defender. That's absolutely correct. He's not a good defender. Perhaps he comes off the bench as a little bit of a bench bat. Just looking at some of his numbers right now. Right-handed hitter. Guys saw that Amed Rosario on the team last year when the Dodgers went out and traded for him. Perhaps it was a little bit easy to go out because there is some history with him, trying to get some of these splits that he has this season just to see if there is potentially some good solid splits that the Dodgers could try to take advantage of, lefty versus righty matchups. And just looking at Amed Rosario, he's got a 126 WRC plus against lefties, a 109 versus righties, fairly even splits. Not a high walk guy, not my favorite profile of a player, but also not somebody that's going to cost a whole lot, and it's just another bat that the Dodgers could use. Not saying it's a great move, not saying it's a game-changing move, but that's the move that the Dodgers went out and got another professional player to be part of this team that they feel like can help them and has performed fairly well this year. Kopech adds a solid curve or change. He'll be virtually unhittable. Be interesting to see what the Dodgers have in mind for the pitching lab, as they clearly see something valuable in him. Delirium. After seeing River Ryan and Justin Robleski pitch and seeing they are for real, there's less urgency for me to go out and get a Crochet and Skubal. I'm sure a lot of Dodgers fans are uncomfortable with going out and relying on some of those guys during the postseason, but I think what they're showing is the Dodgers' ability to go out there and develop pitching. They have really talented guys. Justin Robleski was a guy who they got because they got him after coming out of college after dealing with some injuries. Started back during the 2023 season, has been skyrocketing through this organization during this season. Started out this season at Double-A, made it to the big leagues. He's proven himself to be really solid. And River Ryan has just gone out there, talked about the game yesterday, and shoved. How about the excitement on him, the fired up attitude that he has? That's the type of pitcher that the Dodgers should be going out and getting during the postseason. That was great to see for River Ryan. I'm fired up for both of those guys. And absolutely excited to see what they're able to do. But the Dodgers also, if that is the case, have to rely on who's the best, who's the hottest guy, who they can rely upon during the postseason. A lot of the veteran guys, assuming they don't go out and get a Garrett Crochet or get a Tarek Skubal, they're going to have to rely on the guy that's pitching the best. And I believe it's going to be Tyler Glass. Now, we'll see about Yoshinobu Yamamoto with him coming back. I believe Gavin Stone has cemented himself really well. But as far as the other pitchers that are going to make this postseason roster, we'll have to wait and see. But Robo and River Ryan pitching really well right now. Couldn't be more excited for him. Johnny Owen is not too thrilled with what the Dodgers plan an early vacation to Cancun. We'll have to wait and see. I'm not going to book my tickets quite yet. I am a little bit more optimistic, but that is just me right now. Just being myself. A little bit more of an optimist, even when things kind of seem a little bit crazy. Life Journey Honeywell will be a solid reliever. He has proved to be really solid during the times that he have. Looking to see that continue to go forward. J.O., I was hoping they would acquire Isaiah Kiner-Falefa for third base. Good bench piece if Max Muncy comes back or isn't able to come back. We'll have to wait and see. The Dodgers could go out and acquire all of the utility players, which I believe IKF has actually been a fairly solid, valuable player. And I think there was rumors about him coming to the Dodgers prior to the season as well. So that's not ill-founded by Jay at all going forward. Pika Peep, Neon, Robert Jr., I know what Outman's capable of. I think there's still a lot of upside with James Outman. It's been a real struggle for him at the plate, which has been really disappointing. I'm a huge fan of James Outman, and I know the upside is absolutely there, but he definitely has to prove himself before the Dodgers are going to be relying on him. And now they have an option with Tommy Edman to be able to take over and play center field right now. Los Dodgers, dude, Tommy Edman hasn't even played all year. What are we doing? Another good question to ask, but I think I don't know exactly when he's going to be coming back, but if they envision him coming back potentially later this season, or even not, even if this is a play for 2025, I think there's a lot of upside with getting a guy like a Tommy Edman and perhaps him taking over that super utility role from the Chris Taylor, from the Kike Hernandez type of players. I think Tommy Edman's a really good player, but he has been hurt all of this season, and there's no guarantee with what he's able to do with the bat at all. And if you look at that, I think there's a very valid reason to be frustrated if you are a Dodgers fan. I still like the move right now. Roy Estrada, besides Flaherty, what other starter are we looking? Not named Crochet or Skubal? Really good question. There's not a ton of guys that I can think of that are out there that are those big starting pitchers, which is why I think right now there's this big bidding war for Jack Flaherty, who has the numbers to back up what he's doing, who strikes out a lot of hitters, doesn't walk a lot of hitters, whose FIP, xFIP, SIERA numbers are all there. Expected ERA is really solid. There's really not a lot of flaws besides potential concerns with some of the injuries, with him missing a start or two this season, dealing with some back issues. He is a rental, so it realistically shouldn't cost too much. However, the Tigers have a little bit of something of advantage. One, it's a bidding war. Two, he's really the best starter that's not named Crochet and Skubal that's on the market. And three, they also have the ability to, after the season, put the qualifying offer on him and get compensation of a draft pick. So with the Dodgers, if they go out and get a Jack Flaherty, perhaps that's something where they're willing to give up a little bit more, knowing that they can put the qualifying offer on a Jack Flaherty, even if they're not wanting to re-sign him, and get some of that prospect capital back and an additional draft pick. Perhaps that could be something that they could look into, but that's also something that the Tigers are very conscious about and are going to use every single ounce of leverage that they have. They're not going to get Jack Flaherty for cheap, and with the starting pitcher market, I think it's a lot of maybe mid-type tier starters going out there. Not a lot of those huge upside, top of the line, front line rotation type guys besides the ones that are mentioned. which makes it increasingly unlikely that the Dodgers are going to be able to do a whole lot. But you also have to envision the Dodgers still have a lot of capital that they can deal with. They still seem to, as the rumors have started to pick up, as moves have started to be made, they're starting to do something. And that's, I guess, better than nothing. I just hope it doesn't wait until the last second and then the trade falls apart like it did last season. So we'll have to wait what happens. Mr. Summer, Edman's K rate or K percentage was about 16%. Outman was sold at 40% this year for comparison. Yeah, there's certainly, if you want a little bit more consistency, if you want a little bit less boom or bust, there's a little bit less power there with Tommy Edman, although he has provided fairly consistently when he plays every single day. 11 to 13 home runs, so there's not no power, there's decent enough power, but a little bit more consistency towards the bottom of the lineup to turn the lineup over as well. I guess there is Blake Snell, as Pika said, but I don't necessarily envision the Giants trading with the Dodgers. I think this is something that David Vassegh has mentioned, that there's only been a handful of Dodgers-Giants trades, which makes it a little bit increasingly unlikely. And then you could go with maybe a little bit of the lesser tier if you want to trade with the Angels, maybe for Tyler Anderson, although I don't know if that's necessarily what the Dodgers had envisioned. I think they would rather stick with some of their younger guys as opposed to go for a veteran just for veteran's sake. Or at least that would be what I would choose. Perhaps the Dodgers envision something differently going forward. We'll have to wait and see. Right now, the big-time trades aren't happening quite yet, although there is still time for the Dodgers to go out and make a move. And I know that they're trying to do everything that they can to go ahead and make a move. As yes, Ryan Yarbrough has been designated for assignment. Wish him nothing but the best. I'm sure he's going to go out and eat some innings, pitch for another organization as he continues along with his big league journey. Ate a lot of innings, had some success for the Dodgers. Not as much success during this season, and I didn't envision him being part of the postseason roster for the Dodgers. And if he's not going to be a part of the postseason roster or on the team going forward, the Dodgers roster spots are very limited. And I think that's a move that the Dodgers were going to and decided to make going forward. Will says, let's go get Flaherty and call it a day. Would you guys, at this point, be happy if the Dodgers went out and got Jack Flaherty and nothing else? Would you be happy with that, or do they have to go out and get an additional bat? Who do you want to see the Dodgers go out and get right now? I'd love to hear what you guys hear in the comment section. Let's say, for the sake of argument, no Crochet, no Skubal, no Robert. Who do the Dodgers go get right now? I know those are the big names, and I'm not saying that the Dodgers aren't going to get those types of players, but I want to hear a little bit. Let's hear some creativity. Is it going out and getting a Luis Rengifo? Is it going out and getting some of these other names? Who do you want to see the Dodgers go out to get? As I'm getting fairly close to being caught up with all of these comments. L Boogie, these pieces are help because of injuries. They're not impact players to help win a World Series. We need to stop like these dudes are good. We'll have to wait and see what happens with what they're able to do. Thanks for mentioning Ward. Austin says Pika Peak. He's another guy that I'd love to see get an opportunity at the big league level. Empire Jeff TV, thanks for joining us. Dodgers just traded for Rosario again. Yep, in case you guys are just joining us, Dodgers didn't just trade for Michael Kopech and Tommy Edman. They also acquired Amed Rosario to be another position player that can be a part of this team, having a successful season. Perhaps that there is some negative regression going forward as well, but didn't cost the team a whole lot of prospects going forward. Rosario's platoon splits are neutral, batting over 300 against lefties and righties. Yeah, and it's the WRC plus that's about the same. ENG, nobody seems to care, but Dodgers should get Tyler Anderson. He's got a 2.92 ERA. That would be an interesting trade. He certainly has been somebody who, as you had mentioned, has had a ton of success, has a little bit of a history with the organization as well. Will the Angels go out and trade him to the Dodgers? But If you look at a Tyler Anderson, 2.92 ERA, really solid. Some of the background characteristics and metrics don't seem to like him quite as much, with the expected ERA, the FIP, and the xFIP being in the low to mid fours. I'm going to guess the exact same thing with his Sierra, which is, I believe, the best estimate of ERA, which is sitting at 4.77. Not a ton of strikeouts, about less than 18 or 18.5%, I should say. Decent amount of walks. He would just be another guy that would go out and fill innings. I don't necessarily know if he would be that big-time impact starter in the postseason, but at this point, he might be one of the guys that, especially if you don't go out and get if you don't get a Jack Flaherty, could be an option that the Dodgers go ahead and pivot to, especially if they are concerned with the health of their starters going forward. Tony Rodriguez, thanks very much for joining. What's next for the Dodgers? Hopefully Roberts Jr. No idea what's next for the Dodgers. I was not anticipating the Amed Rosario going live today, but it is exactly what the Dodgers went out and did, going out and getting Amed Rosario. So for the Dodgers, I would assume it would be somebody continuing to further bolster their pitching staff. Perhaps an additional starter just because they dealt with a ton of injuries, but we'll have to wait and see going forward. Philip Gomez, I'd rather have called up our young guys and see their excitement and injury could do for us instead of getting Edman and Kopech. Bring up Ward, Hosey, Avens. Totally agree with a lot of that sentiment. I want to see those guys get opportunities. For this Dodgers team, is that going to be the best move for them? Is that going to be the move that they want to make? I don't think it's necessarily, especially with this team that has World Series expectations. Their expectation is that they're going to win a World Series because they spent over $1 billion during the offseason. They have to play as if they are looking for some of that upside. Hosey, Drew Avens, Ryan Ward have all been really good this season at the minor league level and can provide a lot of interesting excitement. Don't necessarily know a lot of the upside that's going to be there or a lot of the floor that's going to be there because it takes players a while to get acclimated to the big league level. I think that is something that the Dodgers are keeping in mind. I think it would be wise for them to acclimate a lot of these guys earlier at the big league level and work through a lot of the struggles, similar to what they're doing with Andy Pages right now, letting him get a lot of big league at-bats so he can turn into the monster type of hitter that he needs to, similar to, as we've seen with other guys go on from this organization to have a lot of success. I just don't envision that happening with the Dodgers right now. I think Tommy Edman has a lot of upside. Not saying the other players don't. The Dodgers like that upside right now. So if it's not Ward, it's not Hosey, if it's not Avens getting opportunities, perhaps I could see them getting opportunities with another organization, and I would be happy with that. Similar to a Miguel Vargas, because that's all that I want for these players. I want them to get a shot to live out their big league dream, and for the Dodgers to go out and win a World Series, of course. Let's go ahead and continue to read some of these questions. We'll assume the Dodgers have done their homework on Edman's rehab process and are comfortable that he is healthy now. Yeah, I'm assuming that they've done at least a little bit of research to see where he is at, or at least have seen at least a little bit of indication. There has to be something that they're seeing there, because the Dodgers wouldn't have made this trade if they didn't believe that he would come back and be healthy for this team, at least at some point going forward for this season, if not for this season, for next season. They have to have at least some sort of intel information that we don't have right now. Empire Jeff TV, if they get Flaherty, that'd be amazing. Absolutely, that would be amazing as well. Johnny Owens, not a big fan of Dave Roberts, wants to give him the golden boot. We'll have to wait and see what happens with Dave Roberts as well. Peek, I'll admit, healthy Edman means Taylor's Dodgers stint is officially over this year. We'll have to wait and see what the Dodgers move as far as the guys that they keep and try to construct this roster. Still trying to digest putting Tommy Edman as well as an Amed Rosario into this roster and what this is going to mean for this team. Jay Rosario's having decent season. LB Yeah, reclamation projects. That's what it is. A little bit of that is what the Dodgers are doing, and seem to be what they seem to be fans of going out and getting. Philip Gomez. We got if for Vargas and 3 young studs. It was Miguel Vargas and 2 other young players that are a couple of years away. There's a lot of upside with both of these guys, but if you wanted to go out and get certainty, say goodbye to Josue De Paula, say goodbye to Dalton Rushing, say goodbye to River Ryan for the Justin Robleski if you want some sort of certainty. There's going to be risk in any sort of move that you go ahead and make for an organization. Not trying to provide cover for the organization or say that everything that they do is great, but there is going to have to be risk that the Dodgers go out and make. They decided to go out and risk it for some guys that fit into their mold and potentially have some upside going forward. Go Dodgers is a comments that was put in the chat right there. Absolutely, go Dodgers. I think it jumped down the chat a little bit, so we'll kind of go ahead and continue with some of these right now. GI, any move that removes Biggio and Amed from the roster has to be seen as a plus. We'll have to wait and see what happens right now. If they don't get any starting pitcher like Crochet, Flaherty, or Snell, they aren't making it to the World Series. When will they learn? Teams that make moves at the deadline often win. Actually, that'd be something I'd be curious to look into, as find that correlation between the teams that make the big deadline move and then make it to the World Series. Dodgers have done this in the past. It's worked sometimes. It also hasn't worked. We know the 2021 Dodgers team didn't make it to the World Series despite making the big impact type move. You could say that was still the correct move, and I believe that was the correct move for the Dodgers team at the time. But it doesn't always work out. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't give yourself the best position to go ahead and win or make this team as airtight as possible. And we'll have to see what happens with these guys, with these young guys, see if they're ready to go for the postseason as well. Peak, Dodgers should keep pillaging other teams' farms for 2-way players still in limbo over their long-term position. Interested to see what the Dodgers are going to be able to do, because they pay attention to the farm system as well, and that is very important to this organization and has helped made them as successful as they have been for the past decade plus. An emphasis on the farm system still is going to be important for this organization and be there for this team. AB, what's up with the Tigers poster back there, my friend? That's just something that I have in my room in my home studio in Michigan. I do not have a Dodgers poster up there. I'm working on getting one. That just happens to be up there. Still a fan of the Los Angeles Dodgers and still rooting for this organization as well. Thanks for pointing that out as well. DJ Jesse, Robleski, and Ryan, 100%. Paul C wants more pitching as well. We'll have to see what the Dodgers are able to do as I'm scrolling through, trying to read through some of these chats. If the rumors are right and the New York Yankees are offering Cortez as part of the deal for Flaherty, then the Dodgers are going to have to give up an MLB-ready player or 2. Depends on what the Tigers are looking for. I think the Tigers do a really good job at developing pitchers, or at least have done better at that than they have for the position players. So I guess if you can offer position players, that'd probably be more what the Tigers are going to be looking for. We'll have to wait and see what happens, as I don't believe that there's been any sort of additional moves going out for the Dodgers or any other team right now. As we'll go ahead and continue to go forward. Hepatitis, see you later. Is not a big fan of the Amed Rosario get again. Totally fair. And points out that they chose Colton Wong over Amed Rosario last postseason. Amed Rosario having a better season this season. We'll have to wait and see if that is able to continue, as well as I'm trying to get caught back up in the chat here. Dodgers Dogs, part of the Dodgers Daily Network. If you haven't yet to do so, please leave a like on this video. I'm so appreciative and grateful for the opportunity to be here for you. And talk a lot about Dodgers baseball here as we are on the eve of the trade deadline. waiting to see if any additional news breaks. Adam, how about Brent Rooker? He'd be another really good player, really solid player, corner outfielder for the Oakland Athletics. There's a couple of things that could potentially be negatives. One has to be the team control, not because that's a bad thing, but because that's going to mean that he's going to be more expensive. He also does strike out quite a lot, so if you're not a big fan of that boom or bust type of mentality for this Dodgers team, perhaps you're not as big into a Brent Rooker, and that would definitely force, if the Dodgers wanted to keep Andy Pages part of this outfield, that would force him to play center field every single day. Perhaps that's not what you're looking for with a Brent Rooker if you want to fill up all of these holes, especially for the prospect haul that you would have to trade to go out and get him. Really solid player, would be absolutely thrilled if the Dodgers went out and got him. I just see it as probably unlikely right now. Let's see. Yamamoto may not be back. If he is, you won't be as impactful as he was. We'll have to wait and see. Ryan is new and unproven. He could struggle in the playoffs. Kirsch and Glasnow are injury prone. Need another starter. Totally fair to point all of that out. And we'll have to see what happens with this Dodgers team. I think that this is something that they're desperately looking for. But we'll have to wait and see. Hepatitis C later would have rather seen Austin Gauthier get the utility role instead of going after Amed. I think that's totally fair. I love Austin Gauthier as a player. I wrote an entire piece, which you can find at my ex, at AustinBRU99. It is my pinned tweet where I wrote into what Austin Gauthier was able to do during the 2023 minor league season, how he did something that only 20 other players had done since 2006. I still think he needs a little bit more time developing at the AAA level. His strikeouts have bumped up a little bit at Oklahoma City, trying to find his groove, trying to get back into that power that still is in there. Still needs some additional time, still needs some additional seasoning. Love the sentiment, though. Amed Rosario is a professional big league player, and I think he has a little bit higher of a floor, at least right now. But Austin Gauthier is coming, and I think he can fill into that utility role coming up pretty soon. We'll have to wait and see when he is going to be able to help this team going forward. So let's go ahead and read some of this right now. Fire Roberts, hire D-Mac. I guess that could be an option. I doubt the Dodgers are going to go ahead and do that, but shout out to D-Mac, shout out to Dodgers Nation and all that they're able to do as well. Hepatitis C later. Edman is a 0 to me. The way I see it, they gave up Albertus and Perez for a project reliever. Cardinals got the best player in the deal and didn't give up anything. It was a horrid trade, according to Hepatitis C later. Totally fair to have that opinion. There's still, I believe, is upside, and I think you're going to be impressed with at least the defensive ability that Tommy Edman's going to be able to provide, especially if you like the defense that guys like Miguel Rojas, or if you're frustrated with the defense that this Dodgers team is putting out there right now, Tommy Edman can do that, and I think he provide a little bit more of that less boom and bust, but really solid player, and has the upside of being a 5-WAR player, or at least being a 2-ish WAR player, which you need some of those players, and those can be helpful to turn your roster over to other guys. Those two prospects that they gave up, Albertus and Perez, really like what they're able to do. Couple years away, and you guys are big fans of it is parades over prospects, and I think that's totally fair, and I totally agree with that sentiment. You're going to have to give up talent in order to get some sort of talent. Tommy Edman has at least upside to be a really solid player, which is why the Dodgers went out and got that. Let's go ahead and continue, as I'm almost caught up with the chat right now, and we'll see if any other news is broken right now. Gordon training those two players from Rancho opened up to Miguel Vargas to call up to Rancho. I think that is totally fair, and be interesting to see how, as soon as everything happens with the trade deadline, how the minor league rosters are constructed. Something that I pay attention to quite a bit, and really happy to dive into that and talk a lot about that. Hepatitis see you later. Austin, why are they holding on to all these catching prospects? Catcher and first base are locked up. A backup role would be wasting them. It depends on what they are able to get in return from them. It's got to be fit for the correct team. I totally get your sentiment with that. Will Smith is going to be this Dodgers catcher for a long time. Doesn't mean he's necessarily going to play. He's going to play just about catcher just about every single day. And I believe that he deserves that. And the Dodgers have that locked up, as well as with Freddie Freeman. First base is locked up for the next couple of seasons. And so you have Diego Cartaya seemingly blocked from the big league level. You have a Dalton Rushing seemingly blocked from the big league level, as well as a Tyrone Lorenzo, who is several years away. Dalton Rushing is interesting. Actually, this is something that Bruce Coons reported. Dalton Rushing started his first game in left field a couple of days ago, which is really intriguing, especially if the Dodgers don't go out there and make the big trade for a Garrett Crochet or a Tarek Skubal. If they're not able to make that work, which likely would include a Dalton Rushing, as particularly if it's a trade with the Detroit Tigers. With Chicago, they've got a couple of guys they got a couple of catchers that they brought into their organization recently. But there's really serious questions as far as how you fit into this mold. For these catchers, for Diego Cartaya, for Dalton Rushing, for a Tyrone Lorenzo, they're going to have to pick up on some sort of defensive versatility if they want to find a role for this Dodgers team. Perhaps you're starting to see that a little bit. It was just one game. I don't know the circumstances necessarily behind it with Dalton Rushing, but perhaps that is the start of that for him. And if that is the start for Dalton Rushing, in which case you would have a guy that can play catcher but can also play left field, first base, perhaps even right field, perhaps even third base if they're able to get him there as well. You could have somebody that's really valuable and get a bat. But totally get the sentiment with all the catching prospects. The Dodgers have a horde and they have a lot of these guys. They can't keep them all forever. And they're eventually going to have to make some sort of move for them. Hopefully it's for some sort of big-time impact bat as well. Just reading through some of the additional comments. Cards got a 3 to 4 starter and a rental bat. Not particularly a huge haul, but arguably better than what the Chicago White Sox got. We'll have to wait and see what the future holds for the White Sox. It's going to be interesting to see how Miguel Vargas is going to be able to do with Chicago with the runtime that he's going to be able to get. If he's going to be able to get acclimated to the big league level now that he's going to have a little bit more consistent playing time with these Dodgers prospects, with what they're able to do. They're going to have to get some type of role. I think the Dodgers have waited a little bit too long with some of these guys, either holding them down at the big league level and not giving them opportunities, or stashing a whole bunch of them and then not really knowing when exactly to trade some of them, which I think we've been fans and been rooting for them to make some type of big impact move because they have a large quantity of these guys, because there's been a lot of guys that have just stacked up quite a bit with these Dodgers prospects. I want these guys to get opportunities, like Miguel Vargas, who's now getting an opportunity. I'd be happy. I'm more than happy and thrilled that he's able to get that opportunity. Interesting to see what's going to happen to this 40-man roster going forward. Dodger Boy, do you think the Dodgers are going to get a outfielder or no? Maybe at this point, because they have a Amed Rosario, perhaps he can play the outfield. I know that's not a popular thing. Or a Tommy Edman could play some outfield. If they would have the option, at least right now, to say no to an outfielder or not go out and get an outfielder. That could be an option that the Dodgers go out and do. I hope they go out there and get a solid outfielder. Who that would be, maybe. Obviously, Luis Robert has been mentioned. Maybe a Taylor Ward, who has upside potentially with the expected weighted on base average. I just don't know if there's going to be a whole lot of options that the Dodgers like for the price that it's going to cost, which the Dodgers aren't seemingly willing to give up the moon for some of these guys, especially if they don't envision them as the correct fit for their organization. Paul C. Roberts took out Ryan last game and immediately gave up a 2-run home run. My guess is that had to do with the pitch limit that River Ryan gave up. Still was frustrating as a fan of River Ryan, as a fan for this organization, and as a fan for these pitchers. It was frustrating to see that happen. Still super pumped for River Ryan. Still super pumped for Justin Robleski and what they have been able to do and what they have proven. They've proven that the Dodgers can go out there and they can develop a lot of these guys, these young, talented players, these pitchers that can go up there and succeed right away at the big league level. They've got a ton of talent. And they've got a good organization, too. Had a chance to, actually, over this past weekend, go to Great Lakes, which I get to spend a lot of time with the High A affiliate of Los Angeles Dodgers. This past Saturday was a season ticket holders meet and greet. So I got to go interact with the players. I got to go get autographs from a guy that was mentioned in the trade earlier today, Noah Miller, who's making his return to Cedar Rapids this upcoming week. I got to go and get an autograph and say hi to Josue De Paula, who's signing autographs, Tyrone Lorenzo. A lot of these guys, Madison Jeffrey, Brandon Neek, got to go talk to Carson Hobbs. And then there was also a really cool story. They got to interact with a guy that's part of this Dodgers organization. Perhaps a lot of you guys don't know who this guy is. Not a top 30 prospect. In fact, spent a lot of the season as a bullpen catcher by the name of Frank Rodriguez. Frank Rodriguez, been in this organization for a couple of years, international signing guy. Been up and down, been doing exactly what the Dodgers have asked, been a system guy for this team, just waiting, striving for an opportunity. Perhaps the nicest guy on the face of the planet. Got to spend a good long conversation with him, just interacting, which was really cool to get to catch up to see how he's doing. He wasn't at that point on the active roster, but he's like, this is really happy to be back in Midland because he was on the team last year as well. Just waiting. This is like the best place for me to just get some sort of opportunity. And that's all these players want, just an opportunity to go out there and play. What was really cool is I had that conversation with Frank Rodriguez. That later that day, he was activated to the team, started Saturday and Sunday, and for High A Great Lakes, went out there, had the big walk-off base hit to win the game, won both of the games against the first place Lake County Captains. That was really cool to see, and I think that just goes to show a lot of these guys, a lot of these position players are just looking for opportunities, and a lot of times within this Dodgers organization, opportunities are very limited at the big league level or even at the minor league level within this organization because the Dodgers have a lot of really good, talented players, which means that it is up to the Dodgers to find different ways to get these guys opportunities, which we saw with the Miguel Vargas getting traded to the Chicago White Sox today, which we saw with other players going to other organizations and getting opportunities. We'll have to wait and see what happens with this Dodgers team going forward. As just going up, talking through some of these guys as we're going to go ahead, and I don't believe any additional things have broken since we have gone live. If anything breaks within the next minute or two, we'll go ahead and stick around and cover that. But we'll finish off with a couple of additional questions. Just wanted to tell that story. Frank Rodriguez, not a name that necessarily you guys always know. F-Rod. But you guys should know the guys in the system because they make a really big impact for everybody. With Frank Rodriguez, he's worked with Justin Robleski. He's worked with River Ryan, making sure that they get them better. He is an important, valuable person within this organization. Happy to see him get some success. Dodger boy is Tommy Edman on the injured list. I believe he is on the injured list. When is he coming back? I don't know necessarily, nor do I know if the Dodgers know right now. Let's see. Peek a peep. Ryan's earning his keep. Only been pitching for a couple of years. An absolute steal from the San Diego Padres. DePaula just needs to keep filling out his frame. That's really it. He's got an insane ability to be able to see, to recognize the baseball. And he's got a ton of tools. You can see the potential is there. He's got to work for it. He's got to earn it. And if he's able to do that, watch out for a Josue de Paula. Michael mentions Amed Rosario is coming back. Thoughts? Not super huge on it. I don't think it's a huge cost. He's been solid this season. I think there's going to be likely some negative regression. And with Amed Rosario, not the big impact type trade that the Dodgers or Dodgers fans are necessarily looking for. But he is a professional hitter, and the Dodgers typically look for these type of moves. So it's kind of an type of mood for me. And we'll have to see how he does within this Dodgers organization, being surrounded by the talent that is on this organization going forward. Big Lou says, I would have preferred Pham over Tommy Edman. The one upside with Tommy Edman is you have him for next season, and he's not strictly a corner outfielder. If you get strictly a corner outfielder and you have a Teoscar Hernandez on this team, you would be playing Andy Pages in center field every single day. That is some of the downside that you could potentially have for getting a corner outfielder like him or like a Taylor Ward per se. Peek at peek. Think Jose Ramos, another mound conversation candidate. If he continues to struggle, this hit tool. Arm seems to be his best asset. Still rooting for Jose Ramos. Still believe in the talent that he has, but he's got to cut down on his strikeout ability going forward. Dodgers boy, is Michael Kopech going to be the closer, or is it still going to be Evan Phillips? Depends on how Evan Phillips is doing. Evan Phillips has been struggling a lot as of recent, and if he continues to struggle, he won't be the closer. With Kopech, he's got to prove himself before they put him strictly in that closer spot. Jerry Hunter, bat Rosario 9 at least, then somebody's on base for Ohtani. He's got to put the ball in play, and he's got to be able to get on base consistently. Perhaps you like somebody with a little bit higher walk percentage at that 9 hole. You can provide a little bit better of a chance of getting on base as opposed to Amed Rosario, who has a walk percentage of about 2.5% this season. But that's just for my conversation, as I don't believe anything that has broken as we have been here live. So I want to thank you guys. My voice is starting to give out on me. If you have not left a like on this video on your way out, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like on this video and subscribing. If you are new, more than happy and absolutely grateful to have this platform, have this ability to be able to interact, to talk with you guys, to voice through some of the frustrations, to talk about this Dodgers team, to talk about the impact that they've had on this trade deadline. It is so far not the trade deadline that the Dodgers had envisioned, not the trade deadline that the Dodgers had or Dodgers fans had necessarily wanted or think this Dodgers team needs. They still have guys that are coming back from injury. You don't necessarily want to rely on all those guys, but it's important to remember that there are guys that are likely going to be coming back for this Dodgers team. Dodgers are starting to make some sort of moves. You may not believe that they are the best moves for the organization, but they're starting to make some sort of moves. And this Dodgers team, whatever form it's going to look out for, whatever team is going to go out there, we're going to be rooting for this team. We're going to get behind an Amed Rosario. We're going to get behind a Tommy Edman and a Michael Kopech. And I think there is some upside. There is some potential for these guys to potentially be good, solid players, solid contributors for this team. Wish nothing but the best for Miguel Vargas. Been a big fan of his for a long time. Wish nothing but the best for Gerald Perez, Alexander Albertus, for a Michael Flynn, for these guys that have been part of the organization. They're going to go out and have a lot of success for the Chicago and Tampa organizations as followed. Best of luck to Ryan Yarbrough as well. Michael Hoffer just mentioned Michael Busch just homered, number 13. Goes to show that there is a lot of talent within this organization, and a lot of these guys are just looking for opportunities. Happy that Miguel Vargas is getting that opportunity. I'm excited that the Dodgers got Tommy Edman. I'm excited they got Michael Kopech. I think they have the potential, not the guarantee, but the potential to be really solid contributors to this team. And I see why the Dodgers went out and got them. It is less than 24 hours until the trade deadline is over, until the Dodgers can go out and make a move. It is important to go out there and leave no stone unturned. Do everything that you can to go out and win a World Series. And I have no doubt the Dodgers are at least going to look at every single option available. They might not make the move that we're looking for. But even if they don't, still going to be riding with this team, still going to be rooting for this team and trusting this organization. I believe this is a good organization. I believe there's a lot of good, solid people within this organization, and I believe the Dodgers have a really good chance with the talent that they have to go out there and be successful in October. I want to thank you guys for joining here. Dodgers Dawgs, part of the Dodgers Daily Network. My name is Austin Brubaker. You can follow me on X at AustinBRU99. It's been absolutely grateful to be here doing this show with you guys. There will be more to come. I'm sure there will be more videos that will be posted tomorrow on Dodgers Daily YouTube page. So if you have not done so, please subscribe. And we will be back live again sometime soon. I don't know if what Casey's plan as far as going live is, but I'm sure if there's any sort of breaking news that happens, you know exactly where to tune into. Thank you guys for tuning in. Go Dodgers. Let's go ahead and make this trade deadline a real impactful one. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Let's go Dodgers.